What up? What up? What up? I'm live on St. Patrick's Day, which, as someone who is half Irish or part Irish, I probably should give a shit about. But just titling the stream Irish Day stream just for shits and giggles. My dad is really big on St. Patrick's Day, though. He really embraces the Irish in him. He gets fucking plastered every year, which is not my style personally. I've never even had a sip of alcohol. Yeah, that's true. I haven't. Ooh, two people here for now, at least. That Mr. Beast video I uploaded yesterday is really popping off. 644 views. Wow. And so far, only two angry children in the comment section. I guess it should be expected because, Mr. Beast is in the title. But I figured there's like, hundreds or even fucking thousands of videos made on him each day that my video would have just been buried, but no. Hello, Tame. How you doing? Welcome. Hello, Robert. How are you doing? But yeah, I got some Irish blood in me, but I don't have any plans for St. Patrick's Day. It's also my name day. My middle name is Patrick. I don't think I've ever shared that on this channel before. So my name day is 3 days apart from my birthday, which is cool. Hello, big guy 45s. How are you doing today? You're part Irish too? That's cool. I'm a mix of a bunch of different things. I'm part Irish, Ecuadorian, my mom's side, uh, Greek, Italian, probably other things too, but those are the ones that immediately come to my mind. You didn't even know it was St. Patrick's Day? Well, I reminded you. You're also Italian and German. That's cool. I don't think I have any German blood in me. I don't know. I never really talked much about my ancestry with my father. So maybe there's other maybe my family. Maybe I'm other things too that I don't know about. I'm Irish enough to have orange hair. My hair is red. You can't really see it here, but if the sun was like shining on it or whatever, you'd see the redness in my hair. That's how you know I'm part Irish. You're nice. Well, thank you, Saudi East. But yeah, again, I have no plans of getting plastered or anything. I know this is the day of drinking because, that's the Irish stereotype. We all get drunk, but again, I have no plans to. My father, on the other hand, he's probably, well, I don't think he's working right now. He gets off at like 3 in the afternoon, so he might be drinking his ass off right now. I will never drink because my father is an alcoholic and we've been through hell with him. Yeah. Unfortunately, drinking isn't my father's worst addiction. Anyway, haven't really done anything today. Much like all the other days I stream, I get out of bed, have breakfast, and then do a stream. I woke up at around 2:30 in the afternoon. I got fucking midterms I gotta do next week. That's never fun. It's always a very stressful time of the semester. But are all of you doing well? I hope. Any of you have anything interesting going on in your lives? Today I bought a few games during the Steam sale and played some Animal Crossing. I remember really being into Animal Crossing New Leaf around the time that came out on the 3DS. I played it for like a week straight, and then I just got bored of it. I mean, I got the appeal for a little bit, but then it just kind of wore off on me, and I never really had much inclination to buy New Horizons. Maybe I'm missing out. I don't know, but the life sim games or whatever isn't really for me. I hear Animal Crossing on GameCube is pretty expensive these days, although I haven't checked myself. No, $44 on eBay. That's way better than I thought. Oh, never mind. Unless it's broken or something. Oh, this disc is all cracked. No wonder it's only 44. Never mind. Just got out of the shower, about to host Cup and getting hammered tonight. Oh yeah, the podcast. Yeah, I might tune in for a little bit. And you have work tomorrow. Oof. Well, hopefully hopefully you don't get too smashed and you're all hungover tomorrow. But yeah, I know some people who are really crazy for the Animal Crossing games. I know someone in real life who always plays New Horizons. But I don't know. I just never I thought I was going to pick up that game when they first announced it, but I just never did. I know that came out on my birthday, also the same day Doom Eternal released. The user JVGS Jeff has maintained his original GameCube town for over 20 years. That's wild. That's some real dedication. Yeah, I've abandoned my town in New Leaf for like fucking I don't know 7 years now or 8 years. The game came out in what 2014, probably that long. Oof. Yeah, my town. Everyone's probably fucking dead by now. I remember that 3DS game Tamagotchi Life. That wasn't really similar to Animal Crossing, but I remember fucking around with that game a lot back in the day on my 3DS. Surprised they never made a sequel to that on the Switch. I remember like putting all of my Miiverse friends in that game. All people I haven't spoken to in years. Sad, but whatever. I like my uncle's ringtone. I don't know if the microphone picked that up. I got a comment on my Mr. Beast video. Oh boy, what's this? Basically, you can't tweet back hate. It's bad to have a bigger following. He literally tries to do good, then people shit on him. Yeah, that was totally the point I was making in my video. Good job. My left Joy-Con randomly disconnected from the system earlier. I have no idea why. Hope it isn't crapping out on me. Well, were you able to reconnect it again, or is it just fucked? Joy-Con drift has never been a problem for me because I don't use the Joy-Cons. I never tried. to and I never really I used the Joy Cons for the first few months. Uh, I had the Switch, and then for my birthday, after I got the Switch for Christmas, I got a Pro controller, and I never, very rarely use the Joy Cons after that, and I rarely use my Switch in general. So, yeah, I never really was a big fan of the Joy Cons, especially since they drift or they're very susceptible to drifting. It reconnected, but it randomly disconnected somehow. Shit happens sometimes. Maybe it's not crapping out. Maybe it just, I don't know, something happened, but it's a one-off thing. Hopefully, I don't know. But all in all, pro controller supremacy again for me. In my opinion, it's way better than the Joy Cons, and I've used the pro controller for close to 5 years now, and it has never crapped out on me. It has never drifted. So yeah, Nintendo really nailed it with the Pro controller. Unfortunately, they couldn't do the same with the Joy Cons, especially the fucking sticks. Also, knock on wood, my Dual Sense isn't drifting. I had to buy a new one back in August, September, or around either of those 2 months because, well, the Dual Sense that came with my PS5. Well, initially it started drifting probably around January of last year. I think I made a video about that around that time. And it's fucking unacceptable because I have a GameCube controller that is who fucking knows how old. I bought it in used condition almost 3 years ago, and it still works like a charm. There's no drift at all. Meanwhile, my PS5's DualSense, in less than a year of owning it, started drifting. And then I don't know what happened. The problem resolved itself, I guess, for a while until the summer of last year when the drift got way fucking worse. I was playing, I think, Resident Evil 7, and the camera kept fucking spinning around without me even touching the right thumbstick. Really fucking stupid. You don't really see this that much with older controllers. I mean, I'm not saying older controllers are completely uh, completely invulnerable to drifting, but still you see it a lot more with modern controllers, and it's so fucking stupid. Like, the shit is supposed to be getting more advanced, but it seems like it seems like, things are getting more cheaply made. Like, I love the dual sense, I love the haptic feedback, I love the adaptive triggers and all that. That shit is cool, but none of that is worth a fuck when you have sticks that are so susceptible to drifting. And Sony's only solution to that is buy the 300 or $200, however fucking expensive it is, Dual Sense Edge, our Pro controller, because those have detachable sticks. So if one of the sticks start drifting, you could just remove the stick and put in a new one, just like that. So basically, throw us more money for the issue to be resolved. Nice one, Sony. And also, I think I found this out from DK Oldies of all people, but they put out a YouTube short like I don't know a year or two ago that I watched because it was in my YouTube homepage, and it's probably like over a year ago, so I didn't really have much of a beef with DK Oldies back then. But they put out a YouTube short explaining that if you press a certain button combination on your YouTube on your GameCube controller, that the controller recalibrates and More often than not, that fixes any drift that may happen in the GameCube's controller. If Nintendo could figure it out back then, why is it such a fucking issue now? Like, it makes no sense to me at all. And also, I think the Dreamcast used certain sticks that were very resistant to drifting. Overall, shit was probably way better made back then. Way more durable than things are now. Anyway, I may or may not be smoking right now. Smoking what? Cigarettes? Weed? Crack? No, you probably mean weed, at least judging from your profile pic. Yeah, I assumed right. It's been a minute since I got high. I probably last October or something. I went out with friends and smoked some weed with them. Used to do it all the time, like 6 years ago. Not so much these days. Everyone has lives. Button combo to reset the controller if the control stick was held when the system was turned on. Yeah, again, why is it that this shit seemed to be a non-issue way back then, but it's so prevalent now? Like I said before, you would expect shit now to be better made compared to back then, but it seems like we're regressing when it comes to durability and the lifespan of these controllers. Like again, I started having problems with my DualSense less than a year of owning it, and I had to buy a replacement. I had to buy a replacement DualSense last summer. At that point, I only owned the PS5 for a little over a year and like 4 or 5 months. Meanwhile, going back to my GameCube controller again, this controller, no problems with it whatsoever. I bought it in used condition. I don't know how fucking old it is. Well, it's at least from 2001, but you know what I mean. You know, it did come in surprisingly really good condition, though. It looked like it wasn't even used that much when I first got it, but still, this is used. And it's a really old and yet no stick drift at all. Nothing wrong with any of the buttons at all. No problems with this controller whatso fucking ever. Meanwhile, my DualSense only lasted a little over a year. And that's a controller, a premium controller supposedly for a current gen console. Again, it has all this fancy shit like haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, but for whatever fucking reason, Sony didn't feel like putting, sticks in the controller that have a decent lifespan. And again, their only solution is buying our $200 DualSense Edge. Fuck out of here. What's my favorite GameCube game? Resident Evil 4. That's also my favorite game of all time. Really hyped for the remake. Let me talk about that for a few minutes. Oh god, the trailers for that remake look so damn good. So damn good. So damn good. I'm really hyped for that game. Comes out next week. The review embargo lifted just early this morning around, you know, right when the day started at like 12 a.m. East. The game is getting nines out of tens or even tens out of tens from a lot of reviewers. So seems like gonna get another classic. I initially thought the game didn't need a remake. I didn't want a remake for the game, but nah. I still think the original game controls fine. I always thought people were kind of being piss babies about the controls because, oh my god, it's tank controls. I gotta reposition Leon every time I want to turn around. I never really had much of a problem with that, but I definitely am interested in seeing how the game is, you know, adapted into more modern times. The GameCube is an underrated console. Well, it's getting its due these days. It's considered one of the greatest consoles of all time, but it was definitely unfairly shafted when it came out. People just wrote it off as the kiddie console because it's purple and it's got a handle like a lunchbox. I'll admit the design for the GameCube is kind of goofy, but I like it. Some people shit on the design, even to this day, saying it's stupid. It makes the console look like a kids only console. I think it's unique. I think it's cool. It's very compact, very portable. I love the handle, by the way. That may be a hot take. I don't know, but whenever I play on the GameCube, I play during the day up here, and then when no one's downstairs, I play in the TV in the living room at night. And that handle makes taking the GameCube up and down the stairs very easy. I could just hold it by the handle. I used to shit on the handle too, way back when, but nah, it's a cool design. It's unique, and again makes the console very portable. Way more portable than most home consoles. I also remember always taking my GameCube to my dad's house whenever I'd stay there over the weekend as a kid. My favorite console is the Xbox 360. I have the same 360 today as I did over a decade ago. Damn. I wish I could say the same about my GameCube, but I didn't take care of my GameCube well at all. Long story short, I used to always eat waffles and used to always eat waffles and pizza and shit whenever I'd play GameCube games as a kid. So not only did I destroy that GameCube from getting syrup and crumbs and all nasty shit all over it, I also destroyed the controller that came with my GameCube because that shit was really nasty by the end. But I'm taking very good care of my controller these days. Fear not. I've learned my lesson. I don't even eat while playing video games anymore. I haven't done that since I was a little kid, but I can't imagine myself doing that now because that shit can kill your controller. Getting crumbs all over it and God knows what else. That's probably one of the causes for stick drift. Probably getting crumbs inside your controller stick. But that's obviously not the cause of my stick drift back when I had a dual sense that did drift because I never ate while playing video games. And again, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get your controllers dirty like that. Take care of your shit. Why is it every time I stream, my uncle gets a phone call from his job and he's on the phone for like a fucking hour? Well, I don't know how long this phone call is gonna last, but it seems like every time I stream, he gets a phone call and he talks really loud on the phone. I watch these streams back. You can't really hear him that much, but still. Anyway, I think I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but I got midterms coming up. My college semester. Ugh. I can't believe it's already time for midterms. Like, it feels like just like 2 minutes ago my semester started. And now I gotta fucking do midterms. And it's the week of my birthday too. Well, my birthday's on Monday, but still. Well, thankfully I don't have any midterms on my birthday, but still, I'm not gonna be doing shit for my birthday this year because I got classes all day. I got my first class on Monday is at 1 in the afternoon, 1:40 in the afternoon. And then I got like a 2 hour gap in between that one and my next one for the day, which is from uh 4:40 to 6:30. And then after that, from 6:40 to like 8 o'clock at night, I got an online class. So that's how I'm gonna be spending my birthday this year. Whoop de fucking do. But what are you gonna do? I haven't really done much for my birth. Well, my 20th birthday, I had a birthday party because that was a special one, I guess, because I turned 2 decades old. My father came down. My aunt from my father's side also came. It was a really nice time. A bunch of family came, but I didn't do anything for my 21st. Not doing anything this year. Certainly not. Didn't do anything for my 19th either, aside from a little thing with my mom and my grandma. But that was when COVID first. That was when the pandemic first hit. So obviously couldn't go out or anything. But I don't know. Made a video a few years ago saying, I don't really care much for my birthday, and you know, I never placed much importance on my birthday. Well, I did when I was a kid, of course, but that was really because I wanted the presents and a big birthday party and all that shit. But ever since I turned, I don't know, 14, never really cared much for my birthday. Aside from one year, I made a video one year in like 2017, I think, where I said, "Oh yeah, I was wrong. You should always treat your birthday like a special day." But that that mentality quickly fucking died. It's not to say I don't mind when people say happy birthday to me or anything. It's just that me personally, I don't really think much about my birthday when it is my birthday. Today isn't my birthday, Tan Ben. It's in 3 days from now on the 20th. But thank you for the early birthday wish. But that's just how I feel. That's how I felt for a long time about my birthday. I also didn't get plastered for my 21st, even though last year on March 20th, that was when I finally turned, I finally became legal drinking age. But I'm not one to care much for alcohol. It's nice watching your videos again after a 3 time period of forgetting about your channel's existence. You and a lot of other people, but thank you for uh remembering that I exist. Toby Maguire was good. I guess so. Wasn't he that didn't he do the Spider-Man movies like 20 years ago, I think. Well, there's 6 people here now. How are all of you doing? Are you all happy, healthy, taking care of yourselves, hopefully? Hopefully you have more interesting lives than I do because I don't have shit going on in mine currently. It's whatever though. It's whatever. Jacob R has been reviewing some systems bought from Lukey Games, and they both were in bad shape. The PS3 was very dirty, and the 360 was the unit that's guaranteed to get a red ring of death. Yeah, I saw his Lukey Games unboxing yesterday, the 360 one, and I saw the PS3 one around the time that was first uploaded. More of the story, don't trust any of these retro gaming shops. Or at least retro online retro gaming shops. They seem to be all a fucking scam. Well, Lukey Games is actually very inconsistent because I've seen people either fucking love them or hate them. Like I saw some people order from Lukey Games and they didn't really have much complaints. They said, "Oh, this is actually thoroughly refurbished. I'm pleasantly surprised. This was definitely worth the price." And then I see other videos and they get complete garbage from Lukey Games. So I guess they're a half step up from DK Oldies, whereas with DK Oldies, you're almost guaranteed to get garbage. But even still, you're best off if you're buying online, just buy from eBay. I'm not saying the consoles from eBay are, you know, in the in the best tip top shape. They're probably not, but you generally have more to lose on eBay because, you have people rating you and you have a rating to maintain on eBay, and you're not some, major major retro game retailer like DK Oldies is. I'd rather buy from a local game store than some sketchy website. Yeah. Well, I don't really have any retro gaming stores around me. There's one really cool retro gaming store that I went to like nearly 10 years ago now. Forget the name of it, but it's in Manhattan and it had like pretty much every fucking console you could name in the store, even some like really obscure ones. It was really cool. I liked going there, but unfortunately, it's kind of far from where I live, so it's not a place I can go to on a whim like that every day or anything, or whenever I wanted, rather. But it was cool going there. And yeah, I would trust a local video game store over a website any day of the fucking week, especially after all these videos about DK Oldies and Lukey games. But still, I say if you want to stick to buying online, whether it's because you don't feel like going to some place, you don't feel like going to a store on your own, or you don't have a retro gaming store around you, like in my case, just stick with eBay. I've had a pretty positive experience when it comes to buying from eBay. The only time I ever got a bad disc was when well, I didn't buy it, I got it as a birthday gift. 2 years ago, I got the Thousand Year Door. And of course, it had to be a really expensive game that crapped out on me. When you made it to chapter 6, when you go on the train, the game started to stutter. And then I get an error message saying an error has occurred. And it only ever happened with that game, no other game. So I knew that it was the disc and not the GameCube. So ended up returning that. My mom got a refund. The guy tried resurfacing it, and that didn't work. So we got a refund. But thankfully now I got a fully working Thousand Year Door disc. I bought it for myself for Christmas, and I played all the way through, have no problems with it whatsoever. I live in Red Deer, Alberta, and it's so cold here. I'm sick of the snow. We didn't get a snowstorm, but we got some snow like uh this past Tuesday, actually. It didn't stick. It was raining also, so the ground was wet. And also a few weeks ago, we got quite a bit of snow, and some of it stuck, but it's all melted now. We only got like an inch, and it rained right after. So the snow. We haven't really had any problem with snow this winter or last winter. I don't think. I think the last time I had to shovel snow was in 2021. I fucking hate the snow. I loved the snow as a kid because, when you're a kid, you don't have to go out and shovel snow. You could just go and play with it, play on it, make snow angels, make snowmen or whatever the fuck, or throw snowballs at people. That was also fun when I was a kid. But when you're an adult and you got to shovel a bunch of fucking snow, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Anytime it snows and we get a considerable amount of snow that sticks to the ground, I let out a big groan because I know it's my ass that's going out there and shoveling everything. I had to buy a second copy of City Folk once because the game would get a read error upon entering buildings, and I'd be forced to encounter Rossetti upon reloading. Never heard of City Folk. Oh, it's a Animal Crossing. Oh, it's the Wii Animal Crossing game. Oh, I never played this one. I never played the Wii Animal Crossing game or the GameCube one. There is a DS one, right? I think. Only played New Leaf. Wild World was on DS. Ah, I see. Hello, Guitar Rocker. How are you doing? But yeah, like I said before, Animal Crossing was never really my shit. I got really sucked into New Leaf for like a week when it came out when I bought it back in like 2014, but then stopped caring. Fine, just got done making a guitar cover. That's cool. Cover of what song? I remember when I was younger, I learned a little bit of piano. That's some Mikey lore I don't think I've ever shared on this channel. I pretty much forgot everything though. Only got a few lessons as a kid, and I was able to play a few songs, like really basic ones, but I haven't touched a piano since I was a kid, so I think any skill I learned is completely gone by this point. Unleashed by Kill Switch Engage. I never really listened to Kill Switch Engage. I know a few of their songs, and someone who shall not be named used a song of theirs in their videos way back in the day. That's mostly how I remember Kill Switch Engage, but never really listened to much of their stuff. I thought you were the one who used one of their songs in your intro. Well, I did use one of their songs in one of my videos as an intro, but it was a parody of someone else's intro. And if you remember what video that was in, it should be easy to guess whose intro I was parodying in that video. Well, actually, I didn't make that intro. Someone made it for me, but still. But for my non-joke intros, I used Stone Temple Pilots. I used Pink Floyd way back, like 2014. I used Green Day. A lot of people probably remember that intro. And I think those are all the bands whose songs I used for my intros. Joints all the way. I personally can't stand cigarettes. I made a rant about that like 2 years ago. Like my father smoked like a fucking chimney back in the day. He still smokes like a chimney. He's tried and failed so many times to quit. It's just ridiculous. Um, the last time he ever spoke to my grandma, that's when he was doing like supervised visits with me or whatever. Back in 2015, that was, yeah. He was smoking a vape. He was basically trying to downgrade to vape, and then eventually he would kick smoking in general. But when I got back into contact with him after my grandma died, he was right back to smoking. He he's gonna smoke until it kills him, or he dies of whatever. I don't see him ever quitting. He told me he's been smoking since he was like 12 years old. And a few months ago in November, I went to a family get together on my father's side, and my father took me. I went to a my father took me, and he also brought his girlfriend and her kids. So I was in the car with my father, his girlfriend, and her kids. And my father and his girlfriend were smoking like fucking chimneys, both at the same time. The whole car stunk, fucking stunk. And it was a long ass drive too, because we're going from where I am all the way upstate. So I was in the car for like 2 hours, and my father is not a good driver at all. And I tend to get car sick when I'm in a car for probably more than like an hour and a half. So combine the bad driving with all of that fucking all the fucking stench from both him and his girlfriend smoking. I was nauseous as hell by the time we got out of the car. Oh, oh. Charlie's scratching on the door. I'll let him in. He went under the bed. Where did I leave off? I remember when you used tripping on a hole in a paper heart as your intro in 2018 and 2019. Yeah, that's probably that's definitely my favorite intro out of all the intros I had on this channel. I still have nothing against that intro. I liked it. It was simple. It was the background was some random space background I found on YouTube, and there's Charlie. There's his ass. But yeah, I like that intro. I never have any inclination to skip it and cringe like I do with my all the other intros I had on my channel before that one. I also like the my name and rants, opinions, or whatever spinning. Also, I fucking love that song, "Tripping on a Hole." Hey, Charlie, what's up? He wants attention. I love that song a lot. It's easily my favorite off of Tiny Music. One of my favorite STP songs in general. I'm not dead and I'm not for sale. I recently quit tobacco and only smoke weed. However, I smoke weed a lot. I used to smoke weed all the time, like 6 years ago. I think I mentioned that earlier in the stream. Used to be on almost a daily basis. I remember I used to fucking shit on smoking weed when I was younger. I think I never made a video about weed, but I think I've mentioned it in passing back in videos from like I don't know 2016 or whatever. Because I used to equate weed to like heroin because I didn't know any better. Because my mom would always fucking drill the gateway drug bullshit into my head, and then one day my friends were like, "Hey, you want to try weed?" And I was really hesitant, but I ended up trying it, and it actually really helped my anxiety. It was really positive for my mental health, personally. Obviously, that's not guaranteed for everyone. I know people who smoke weed and their anxiety is worsened. So, but for me personally, it was really positive. It was very medicinal in that aspect. Never smoked a cigarette in my life, never will. Same, especially, with my father who has tried to quit several times in my life and failing every single time. I remember when I was in like first grade, my father told me, "I'm going to quit smoking just for you." And he stopped for like, I don't know, 2 weeks and then he went right back to cigarettes. Really shows how seriously he took that. I've been smoking since 13 and quit recently at age 16. Well, that's good. Jeez. Well, my father has you beat by 1 year. He said he started smoking at 12. Top of the morning to you, laddies. Yep. Top of the morning to you, too. Even though it's the afternoon, but whatever. It's a solid intro. Well, thank you. Again, I like that intro. Maybe someday well, I was I don't plan on ever bringing it back for like every single video like I did back in the day because honestly, I think channel intros are kind of outdated. You don't see anyone using channel intros these days anymore. And just taking a cursory look at my channel, you already know it's, mainly rants and commentary and discussions and all that. So I don't think an intro is really necessary. Just get straight into the point into the video. But I feel like someday maybe I'll just use the intro on occasion, just as like a little throwback. Because again, I liked it. I still like it. It's not like when I listen to When I Come Around and I'm immediately reminded of a close up of my me and just immediately cringe. No, I can still listen to Trippin' on a Hole and not even think about that old intro because again, I like the intro. And if I remember correctly, my audience liked the intro. I don't remember anyone ever complaining about it. In fact, quite the opposite. I remember when I first started using the intro, people were like, "Oh, cool! That I love that Stone Temple Pilots song. Great intro." I would never smoke in public because I know most people. I knew how most people thought of them, and it's also considerate not to smoke in public because you don't. Because personally, I don't want to fucking breathe in secondhand smoke. I don't want to breathe in smoke from someone else's cigarette. It's a good Stone Temple Pilots song. It's one of the best Stone Temple Pilots songs. Favorite Cartoon Network shows. Well, three out of my top four favorite cartoons of all time are Cartoon Network shows. My top four favorite cartoons are, my all time favorite, you probably know by this point, Courage the Cowardly Dog. My second favorite is Ed, Edd and Eddy. Third favorite is SpongeBob. And my fourth favorite is Powerpuff Girls. What is my fifth favorite? I have no fucking clue. I haven't watched, well, aside from cartoons I loved as a kid, like again, Courage the Cowardly Dog and all the other ones I just listed now. I haven't watched a cartoon in a long time. I most certainly haven't seen any cartoon that has come out in the past like 10 years. Like whenever anyone in my server talks about any recent cartoon, like, you know, I have no clue what any of them are talking about because I haven't seen a single episode. Not to say I'm against people talking about shows I haven't watched in my server. I'm just saying I personally haven't watched any recent cartoon. Just keep drugs in moderation and you will prevail. Yeah, I usually get into this discussion every stream, I think, but I find it ridiculous to keep drugs illegal. If someone wants to put a harmful substance into their own body, more power to them. I don't think they should be thrown in prison. I think they should be put in rehab if they choose to go to rehab. Punishment for drug addiction solves nothing. Somebody told me in a game I was playing that weed can help with my stuttering. Well, I've never looked up any studies relating to weed helping stuttering, but I don't know, maybe it will. My mom is the opposite of your mom. She told me when cannabis was legalized in Canada that it was a good thing. My dad is way left than my is way more left than my mom. It's not to say he's like a communist or anything, but he's more a Bernie Sanders type. You know, he's a Dem sock or a sock dem rather. Um, when New York first legalized weed like 2 years ago, he was all for that. And he even said, go a step further, legalize all drugs. He even thinks it's ridiculous to be thrown in prison just for drug possession. Meanwhile, my mom was so disappointed that New York legalized weed, and she was like, oh, now more people are going to get hooked on heroin. My dad is also for my dad is also for all nonviolent drug offenders to be released from prison. My mom smokes weed to relieve neurological pain. She says it works wonders. That's awesome. Again, it worked wonders for my anxiety when I was smoking it on a regular basis. I was having less panic attacks. That's not to say my anxiety completely went away or anything, of course not, but I noticed that it was under a lot more control when I was smoking regularly compared to like now. I have panic attacks somewhat regularly. It was never something I suffered with, on a near daily basis or anything, but it is something I do suffer with. Depression has also been an issue for me. My depression wasn't so bad when I was smoking on a regular basis. Overall, I think things really improved for me when I was smoking on a regular basis way back when. So it has worked wonders for me personally. Of course, that's not everyone's experience, but for me personally, it was great. Some people use intros, some people don't. That's my experience. Yeah, I just personally haven't seen as many people using intros for their videos compared to like, I don't know, 5+ years ago. Feels like something that not many people have anymore in their videos. But again, maybe someday for like a one-off video, I'll have the STP intro again. Powerpuff Girls is amazing. Yeah, I agree. Well, the first few seasons at least. And then I think Craig McCracken left, and that's when the show kind of went. And then, of course, there's shit like the reboot and the anime. And Isn't there supposed to be a live action Powerpuff Girls show? Did that ever happen? Is it still going to happen? I remember that being a big topic of discussion a few years ago because the script leaked and it was absolutely terrible. Courage the Cowardly Dog is a masterpiece. Big agree. I rewatched Courage the Cowardly Dog last month and it's so good. Easily the best cartoon ever, in my humble opinion. The only time I smoked tobacco was when a friend of mine offered me some menthols because I told him my throat was sore as hell. Worked wonders, but wouldn't do it again if I can help it. I'd rather just to stay away from tobacco, me personally, at least. Even when I was 17, I supported legalizing all drugs. I've been for drug legalization since probably age 16. God, maybe even 15. Because I remember TJ, the amazing atheist, making videos about drug legalization, and I was like, he actually makes some really good points. And I started really thinking about it, thinking about how ridiculous it is to throw people in prison just for having an addiction, buying drugs at their own volition, and putting said harmful drugs into their own bodies. They're harming no one but themselves. They should receive help instead of being thrown in a prison cell. Because what does that solve? What the fuck does that solve? Throwing people who have an addiction in prison. It's done nothing to stop drugs from being sold to people. People still want to put drugs in their own body, and if they want to, that's their own prerogative. If they're fully aware they're probably going to die of an overdose someday, and they don't care, at the end of the day, that's no one's problem. That's not society's problem. It's a problem for them, of course, and the people around them. But they should receive help for their addiction rather than being thrown in prison. I think it's just ridiculous to throw people in prison because they choose to put certain substances into their own bodies. Drug possession is a victimless crime. They don't deserve jail. They need help. I 100% agree. It is a victimless crime. If you're knowingly buying drugs that you know is not good for you, but you still want to put that shit in your body anyway, that ultimately is your own decision. You know what you're getting into. You're fully aware that a lot of people have overdosed on shit like heroin, and if you want to still put heroin into your own body, well, I don't condone that, but ultimately, what am I going to do about it? I mean, I know firsthand what heroin addiction is like. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but let's just say my father's worst addiction is not tobacco and not alcohol. But even still, I don't think anyone with that addiction should be thrown in prison. They should receive help instead. Why do old people call all drugs dope? Because drugs are dope. Punishment for drug possession is just cruelty against people for issues they can't really control. It is cruelty because again, you're just punishing people for having an addiction and they're not going to get any meaningful help by being thrown into a prison cell and being punished for having said addiction. And you're not scaring people away from doing drugs by throwing people in prison for drug possession. Again, the drug black market is still huge in this country. People still seek after drugs even knowing it's illegal. That's why I think it's ridiculous to keep drugs illegal because people are going to still seek after it. It's a substance that, again, doesn't harm anyone but the person putting it into their own bodies. And it would probably reduce a lot of gang related crime if we were to legalize all drugs in this country because a lot of gangs are run stay afloat, I mean, because they sell drugs. Like a lot of people can get addicted because of mental health problems. Yeah, absolutely. Untreated mental illness also is also a contributing factor to a lot of drug addiction in this country, because maybe they can't afford, maybe they don't have adequate health care and they can't afford proper treatment for their mental health issues, so they turn to illegal substances in hope to alleviate said mental health issues. It's not always just someone who was like, "Oh, I want to do some drugs. Let me buy heroin or whatever." There are a lot of different factors that go into why one does drugs. If regular smokable opium was legal, people wouldn't have to use heroin. Yep. My mom buys pot and she doesn't smoke herself, but she eats edibles instead. Oh god, it's been a hot minute since I had a weed brownie. Could really go for that right now. I too ate an incredibly powerful weed edible once, and it turned me into a state of sedation for about 7 hours. Jesus. I don't remember, but the reboot was complete garbage. Yeah, it was. It really was. You had scenes where where the Powerpuff Girls were kindergartners and they were fucking shaking their asses, and then people called them out for that. And I think the show doubled down and had another scene where the girls were twerking. And I had a burp coming, but I lost it. I hate when that happens. Anyway, um, wasn't there also another episode where one of the writers had a self-insert character and they were like dating one of the Powerpuff Girls or whatever? I think I heard about something like that. Yeah, that's totally not weird at all. Because again, these characters are in kindergarten. How you doing, Charlie? He's looking at me with a sad face. I've been ignoring him for a while now. Charlie, say hi to the people. There's 6 people watching right now. Say hi to them. He can't give a shit less about any of you. I'm sorry. Wait, he stood up. Charlie. Okay. He really doesn't. He really can't give a fuck less about any of you. Damn. The live action show still hasn't aired yet. Oh, I guess that's still in the pipeline. Yeah, that's totally a show I'm planning on not watching. The only anti-drug commercials that don't completely blow the drug out of proportion are the ones about heroin and prescription painkillers. Well, so long as they're, not trying to demonize the people who use those drugs, you know, I don't really have too much of an issue with anti-drug PSAs, because those are substances you because stuff like heroin are certainly not substances you should be putting into your own body. My best friend has been clean off crystal meth for 6 months. Good for your friend. Yeah, that's horrible. They were into that. Legalizing drugs also reduces addiction issues. Yeah, and I'm sure if we had access to affordable healthcare, or healthcare was a human right in this country, we'd probably see addiction issues decrease even more. That's the thing I hate about it is how creepy it is. The Powerpuff Girls reboot, yeah, I saw a few episodes of the reboot back when it first started airing because I was curious. People were saying it was really awful, but the original Powerpuff Girls, the first few seasons at least, is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. And I was like, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, if I try the show out, it won't be as bad as people are saying. Maybe I'll be against the grain. Maybe these people are mistaken, or they're just clouded by nostalgia. And I gave a few episodes of the show an honest go because I really wanted to like the show because it was a continuation of, again, one of my favorite cartoons of all time. But no, it was just as bad as people were saying it was. Is the Powerpuff Girls reboot even still going? No, I think it got canceled. It's the Teen Titans reboot that's still going, I think. Yeah, the character was Jared Shapiro. Shapiro. Yeah. I'm happy that the reboot is was taken out back and shot, but there's still that live action show that's supposedly still coming. Hello, Charlie. Yeah. He went he went to look out the window. I showed him to all of you and he was like, "Nope. Nah. Fuck them." They also gave Miss Bellum the axe in the reboot. Was she really not in the reboot? Wow. Figured she was since she was a reoccurring character in the original show. She was in the reboot, but they made a goodbye episode for her and removed her. Why? Why remove her? That makes zero sense to me. I mean, I liked her character in the original back when I was a kid. She was a neat character, I guess. Though as a kid, I liked her for certain reasons that I'm sure. uh, But anyway, yeah, I just can't really think of any good reason to remove her from the reboot. Why did they what was the reason they gave for the character to be removed from the show? Purple Pills by Eminem is the best song about drugs ever. Oh, I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs he did with his rap group. Um, yeah, that's probably the first D12 song I ever heard. It's one of the most popular, I think. Charlie's coming back. He went onto the night table. Now he's rubbing his head against the TV stand. Come on. Yeah. And yes, I haven't made my bed yet. I usually make my bed after I'm done with these streams because I roll out of bed, I have breakfast, and then I stream. That's usually how it goes. Now he's rubbing his head on the computer monitor. This is probably the most present Charlie has ever been in any of these streams because usually he leaves within like the first 5 minutes of me streaming. Ugh, don't want his ass in my face. Yeah. He's not camera shy anymore. Yeah. He's purring. I don't know if Mike picks that up or not. Anyway, ever heard of 6-APB? It's a stimulant similar to MDMA, but with psychedelic properties. The euphoria it generates can be so powerful it paralyzes you. I don't think I ever heard of that drug, and I don't think I ever plan on using it. The in-universe reason was she had a lot of vacation time, but the show crew said she wasn't the kind of message they wanted to send out or something like that. What do you mean she wasn't the kind of message they wanted to send out? Was it because she was a character that objectified women or whatever? She was, but the original show she had her cool moments. A couple of episodes where she was, or at least there was that one episode where she was beating the shit out of one of the bad guys. uh Sedusa it was. Welcome back, team. Did you know that chocolate has drugs in it? Yes, I'm aware. Charlie wants to leave now. Also, yeah, I'm wearing a Game of Thrones shirt. The show sucked shit a lot in the last few seasons, but the first few seasons were really good. House of the Dragon is also pretty good. Hopefully that doesn't go to shit either. But yeah, I think that's kind of a dumb reason to remove her character. If the reason really was, well, she's just a character that was meant to be objectified or anything, give her a personality, or at least make her character something that's not just eye candy. I don't know. I think there are different routes they could have gone that are not just give the character the axe. I remember back in middle school, I told a kid who really liked chocolate that chocolate has drugs in it, and he began sobbing because he bit really hard because he promised his parents he would never do drugs. That's funny and also kind of sad. Well, my dad is really cool. Me and him have smoked together a couple of times. Not cigarettes, weed. Um, but yeah, he doesn't care that I smoke weed at all. My mom, well, she doesn't know. She kept that a secret from her. But she is really against the usage of weed. Again, she believes in the whole gateway drug bullshit. Like I said before, she was really disappointed when New York finally legalized weed. She is full, she's stuck in the 50s when it comes to her mentality on weed. Anyone ever see the movie Reefer Madness? One of the most unintentionally funniest movies of all time. I got high last night and I'm about to get drunk tonight. Sounds like fun. They also removed Miss Keen's breasts in the reboot. Yeah, I remember that being a controversy around the time the reboot first came out. Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't remember ever really caring that much about Miss Keen, especially in that way when I watched the original show when I was little. But that's a change I'm indifferent on. At least they didn't completely remove the character, but still, it's fine for a cartoon character to have breasts. Women have breasts in real life. A female cartoon character can have breasts. It's fine. Your kids are not going to get corrupted or whatever the fuck. I was never really one to get mad about shit like that anyway. Like anytime a character is made quote unquote ugly or the sexuality is toned down or whatever, and people start collectively losing their minds and saying, "Oh my god, this property is going woke." I'm like, who cares? Who cares? You're not gonna die. It's not gonna kill you. It's not the end of the world. Like I've been seeing a lot of that discourse surrounding the Resident Evil 4 remake. A lot of people are mad that like yeah, a lot of people are mad that that Luis commenting on Ashley's breast within the first 5 seconds of meeting hers isn't in the remake, and people are saying the remake is fucking woke. Like, who cares? Who cares? It's not that big of a change. I once saw a kid snort caffeine, and a fountain of blood came from his nose. Well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Fucking snorting caffeine. I remember as a joke when I was in like 10th grade, some kid was snorting sugar because he wanted to pretend he was snorting cocaine. Nothing bad happened, but still, I found it amusing back then. But these days, I'd probably be like, it's probably not the best idea. So yeah, I used to really love St. Patrick's Day when I was a kid. I used to really like I used to really like wearing like these uh these necklaces that had these like green necklaces, and some of them had four-leaf clovers on it. I was really big into it as a kid, but these days I'm just kind of indifferent on it. I'm not a very festive person. Today is the first nice day in a while. The weather is pretty decent today. Yesterday the wind was so fucking violent. Like all day you heard, and I had to go to college yesterday, and it wasn't pleasant. All that wind fucking blowing in my face. Jacob R just uploaded an unboxing of a GameStop refurbished PS5 digital version, but from the thumbnail alone, it looks like it's also in bad shape. Well, that doesn't surprise me. For years, GameStop has been known for years for doing a shitty job at refurbishing shit, right? I I don't buy from. Well, I do buy from. I bought. I think it was Resident Evil Village back when that came out from GameStop. Like sometimes I'll buy a new game that just came out from GameStop because I still buy games physically. I'm sorry, I'm not like most people these days who just buy games digitally. If a new game comes out and I want to buy that game, I'll buy it. I'll buy it physically. The only time I ever buy games directly off the PlayStation Store is either if it's offered for free on PS Plus, or there's a really good discount that I can only find on the PlayStation Store and not anywhere else. But aside from that, I'll buy a game physically because I like having an actual physical collection. I know it's not as convenient as just downloading a game off of a digital store, but I don't really care. It kind of depresses me though that the market for physical games is fizzling out. I mean, it's not like games come with cool shit anymore, like manuals and stuff. Most of the boxes I get these days for new PS5 games have nothing in them besides the discs. And even then, sometimes, like in the case of God of War Ragnarok, if you bought the deluxe edition, you get the game box, but you only get a code, I think, to download the game. You don't actually get the disc. So, you know, even video game companies are caring less and less about physical versions of games, but it makes me sad because I like owning shit physically. I don't know. That's always just felt more special to me. Actually, holding a box in my hands, holding the disc in my hands, having something to actually show off. Like I have a stand right there. I have two stands right there. For well, there. There's my PlayStation game stand, and there's my GameCube game stand right there. Also, say hi to SpongeBob. It's a backpack I had when I was a little kid. Anyway, I always liked owning games physically. It just feels more special, and it's my preferred way of buying games. been raining all day in my area. Well, over here it's pretty nice. I mean, it's kind of cloudy, but it's not. It's not. There's no violent wind like there was yesterday. And Wednesday it was raining. Tuesday it was snowing. Overall, aside from today, this week has been kind of shitty when it comes to the weather. And you all know how I feel about bad weather. At least I think you do. I made that video some months ago about how bad weather kind of sort of depresses me. And that is still the case to this day. I see TJ just uploaded words on Eden Night. Yeah. It's abominable what happened to them. Long story short, they were a trans person who recently committed suicide. Their parents were trying to force them to detransition. It's horrible. People just can't live, live the lives that they choose to live and harm no one. And they have to suffer because, oh no, they're not conforming to my gender to my gender ideals or any of that shit. I'm probably gonna make a video about that in the coming days because I feel it's important to talk about, because this is the end goal of all this rampant transphobia that we've been seeing on the right. Trans people killing themselves, and the right doesn't care. They can crow on and on about how they care about trans youth. This person was just barely out of their teen years. What were they, like 22? And they commit suicide. And I've seen a bunch of vile people in the replies under her final message on Twitter being like, good riddance, goodbye, sharing gifs of people laughing. Some people post rip bozo. They don't fucking care about trans people. They're perfectly fine with a trans person dying of any age. It was never about protecting anyone. It's about spreading bigotry. It's about, kicking a minority of people down. Philip DeFranco talked about Eden Night recently. Yeah, I heard about that. I think someone shared that in my server. I didn't watch the video, or at least not yet, but it's cool to see, someone of Philip DeFranco stature talking about this, Because I don't think he normally talks about politics. Doesn't he usually like talk about YouTube drama or celebrity drama or whatever the fuck? It's cool to, see someone like him talking about this and exposing this story to a wider audience. And I would hope his audience was receptive and wasn't, and wasn't like raging the fuck out for over him, speaking positively about a trans person. It's usually celebrity drama with an occasional political story. I see. I have I haven't watched Philip DeFranco in fucking years, so I don't really know much about his content. But yeah, it's nice seeing, more normie YouTubers talk about this because this is a topic that should be discussed more because we are seeing unprecedented bigotry against the LGBTQ plus community right now on the right. And we've been seeing all these anti-trans bills, all these political pundits just, you know, pretty much going mask off at this point, saying we want transgender people eradicated. Oh, but I said I just want transgenderism eradicated. I never said anything about the people themselves. Yeah, sure, but yeah, most people know what these people mean. Even their audience knows what they mean, and they're just eating it. They're just eating it the fuck up because they're bigoted pieces of shit. They hide their bigotry behind the veer of we're just protecting the children. We just have concerns over all this new gender ideology or whatever the fuck. It was never about that. They want these people dead. They don't give a fuck at all about trans youth. Otherwise, they wouldn't be celebrating the suicide of someone who was a trans youth. It's just about keeping a minority of people down. They don't conform to their ideal society. They don't conform to their ideal gender rules. So, you know, just because these people committed the cardinal sin of oh no's, living the lives that they want to live, you know, the all these conservatives are melting the fuck down and pretty much saying, without explicitly saying, that these people should die, basically. The top comments overwhelmingly support Eden. Well, that's refreshing. That's very, very refreshing. Because I'm used to these normie YouTubers discussing trans issues, and then you see their audience, you know, be bigoted pieces of shit in the comments, or even the YouTubers themselves being bigoted pieces of shit. Like, it's fine to be ignorant of these sorts of issues and not, have a full grasp on trans issues. That's perfectly fine. But, if you're actively promoting bigotry, that's a completely different thing. Like, I never liked scolding people because they don't have a full grasp on trans issues. If they're willing to learn more, teach them more. Don't scold them for not having a full grasp. I think I told this story before, but I'll tell it anyway. Last year, my mom went to Jersey to help my aunt, not my aunt, my cousin move, and for whatever reason, they went to a friend. They went to the house of a friend of my cousin, and that friend has a child that's like, well, not a child, but uh, their their offspring is like, I don't know, in their early 20s or something, and they're non-binary, and they have what I guess was a traditionally feminine appearance, and my mom and my cousin referred to them by she her pronouns, and that person went off on them. Now my mom doesn't really understand non-binary people. She's not bigoted against them or anything. She just doesn't really understand the whole concept. I've told her more about it, and she's like, this is confusing, but if this is how people want to identify themselves as, more power to them. That's pretty much her philosophy. Same with my cousin. But that person still really went off on them. And then when they told them that they wanted to understand more, they told my mom and my cousin something like, it's not my job to educate you or something like that. Like, how the fuck is LGBTQ plus rights going to advance in this country if you're not willing to educate people who are willing to be more educated on the issue? Like, it makes no sense to me. They're not bigoted. Again, they don't understand non-binary people. They don't have a full grasp on trans issues, but they were willing to learn more. They're not bigoted against these people. They're in their fucking mid-50s. They're not up to date with this shit. So, you know, if someone is not in bad faith and they want to actually learn more, educate them. I don't think it's that crazy of a concept. Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh make me fear for my safety. I don't blame you for feeling that way. Not in the least fucking bit. I mean, how mask off they're getting these days is really scary. I mean, I'm cis, I'm straight, but I still really do feel for the LGBTQ plus community as a whole these days because of all of the unprecedented bigotry, especially against trans people, but it's also ramping up against gay people too. We're starting to see a resurgence in the rhetoric that gay people are groomers and, it's unnatural to be gay. You would think all of this shit would be put to bed when gay marriage is finally legalized in all 50 states in this country. But we're starting to see a resurgence of that. The Supreme Court has been toying with the idea of reversing that, and that really scares me. It's crazy that we're still dealing with all this shit in 2023. I don't know what Freakazoid is. Do I? Freakazoid. If you're referring to whoever is on my screen right now, I don't know this person. I also remember when McJuggernuggets' best friend came out as trans in late 2021. Most of the top comments are positive as well. That's good. I didn't know McJuggernuggets had a best friend that came out. I never watched his content, so I remember that whole psycho dad shit from like 10 years ago, though. There were kids in my middle school that were crazy for those videos, but I was always more of a Tourette's guy person or a greatest freak out ever person. Oh, so they're one of those people. The NB person I mentioned, yeah. Like that shit's not productive at all. Again, like I've said a million times at this point, so long as someone is not being a bigoted piece of shit towards you, which my mom and my cousin weren't. They weren't saying, "Oh, non-binary people are invalid. There's no they them or anything like that." They just didn't understand. They misgendered them, not knowing they're a non-binary because they don't really know much about non-binary people and they don't have a grasp on trans issues all that much because again, they're boomers. Well, more like Gen X, but still, they don't really know much about this stuff and they were willing to learn more, but that person just dismissed them because they initially misgendered them, again not knowing they're a non-binary, and they're like, nah, it's not my job to educate you, educate yourselves. And the left, the fucking left in this, the typical, for a fact that person is always bitching on Twitter. Just leave it at that. The typical purity lefty, that's what I was gonna say. I remember the Psycho series, the acting was impeccable and really convincing looking back on it. I never really watched those videos all that much. Maybe I should watch them more, getting into a comfortable position. I was in the same damn position for over an hour and a half. It was getting so uncomfortable. Anyway, Again, I knew people back in middle school who were really crazy for that series and thought it was real, but yeah, those videos never really captured my interest all that much. I understand that some people might get angry at being accidentally misgendered because of being misgendered constantly, but they can't take it out on people who did nothing wrong and need help. Yeah. My mom and my cousin just saw someone who, had a traditionally feminine appearance. My mom said they looked like a girl, so I referred to them by her pronouns. And, I can't get mad at that because, again, my mom doesn't really know much about the whole, you know, doesn't really know much about these sorts of things. So, she still has the old mentality of if someone looks like a girl, if someone looks like a guy, refer to them by the pronouns you think they go by, you know? Educate yourself. It's not my job as a surefire way of knowing someone's arguments probably suck. Probably, probably. But, I just can't stand people like that personally. Like, I can understand the frustration, you know? I'm not saying being misgendered is pleasant or anything. I understand being mad at that. But, you got to realize that outside of your own circle, outside of people who are your age, there are plenty of people out there who are not so, tuned in when it comes to these sorts of issues. So if they see someone who looks like a girl, or if they see someone who looks like a guy, and that person may be trans or non binary or whatever, they're going to refer to that person by the pronouns they think they go by because they're not, again, they don't really know much about these sorts of issues, and that's not inherently a bad thing. Again, if it would be a completely different thing if my mom and my cousin were like, "No, you're not non-binary. There's only male, there's female, and there's no in between. You can't change your gender or anything or any stupid bullshit like that." It would be understandable if that person, went complete ham on them if they were saying shit like that, but they're generally open-minded people, at least when it comes to, issues like LGBTQ plus people and stuff like that. But again, they wanted to learn more. They wanted to understand why that person doesn't identify as either male or female and have a better grasp of NB people, but that person was not having it at all. It just paints a really bad picture of the LGBTQ plus community, you know. It gives people who may not be fine tuned on these sorts of issues the impression that all of these people are just snowflakes who rage out at the drop of a hat when someone isn't completely in tune with non-binary and trans issues. It's completely counterproductive. Most people aren't raging transphobes like Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles. Most people just don't understand what it means to be trans. Yeah, the normies, which make up most of this country or really most of this world. Most people aren't vehemently opposed to trans people existing. Look at midterms. I always point to that as a perfect example of how all of this anti-trans bullshit isn't the home run issue the Republicans make it out to be, because because pretty much their entire platform in 2022 was, we got to do something about transgenderism. And midterms was projected to be a blowout in favor of the Republicans. Now, granted, other things happened like Roe v. Wade being overturned, and that really soured people towards the Republican Party as well. But I'm sure a lot of it also has to do with how much the Republicans are hyper fixating on all of these on LGBTQ plus issues, and saying these people need to be eradicated. We got to propose bills that ban these people from openly expressing their sexuality or embracing their gender identity or receiving gender affirming care. Most people don't give a shit about this stuff. like I said a few videos ago, there may be people in this country who are like, yeah, I'm not really down with transgenderism. I don't think someone could be born as male or become female or vice versa. I don't think there's people, I don't think you can not identify as either gender. Yeah, sure, some people may have backwards beliefs, but they're still not completely into all of these anti-trans bills because ultimately they want to see bills passed that benefit them, you know? Like how does it benefit the general public when you're banning like two trans people in your state that are compete that were assigned male at birth competing in female sports like, and you're just seeing the Republicans double down on this shit too. They learned nothing from midterms, so hopefully, we see something similar happen in 2024. The positive to that is they're pushing people away from their party. The negative is that they're radicalizing people who are already deep into the rabbit hole. Yeah, but I take a lot of solace in the former because a lot of people are getting turned off by all this anti-trans shit because most people aren't, far right, aren't part of the fringe far right that are really going ham on trans issues because most people don't really care much about trans issues. They either, are indifferent towards trans people and will, be accepting towards trans people and respect their pronouns and such, their identity. And like I said before, there may be people who are not so down with trans people, but they still don't really care about all these bills coming out and all this hyperfixation on them, because ultimately, while they may not agree that someone can transition to a different gender or someone can identify as neither gender, they just don't care that much. I do hope it does push a significant amount of people away from the Republican Party, because it may seem like a lot of people, it may seem like most of this country cares about these sorts of issues if you just go online and read a whole bunch of extremely bigoted comments from stupid people, but in reality, most people in this country really don't fucking care. No one wants to hear my pronouns or kiss my ass. They want to know if they can afford basic necessities. Yeah, that's what most people care about in this country. And the Republicans choose to, hyper fixate on shit that doesn't affect anyone at all. There's no epidemic of trans groomers or any of that shit. It's just that they hate these people irrationally. People care about survival instead of other people. Yeah, that's typically true. I just really hope all this shit explodes in the Republicans' faces. All this hyperfixation on trans issues just completely bites them in the ass come 2024. We saw that in midterms. I mean, they still won the House, but it was a pretty hollow victory compared to what people were projecting. People were again saying it was going to be a blowout in favor of the Republicans, and we didn't see that happen. The commenters on YouTube don't make up a vast majority of the country. They're a fringe online group. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it may seem like a lot online because you see anti-trans bigotry everywhere online, but the internet is typically where the fringe gather, so you're going to see a lot of that online. But in real life, you don't really see a whole lot of rampant anti-trans bigotry, at least from normal people, because most normal people don't care. Don't care. I'm sure most people's philosophy is, well, if one wants to transition to a different gender, if one wants to identify as neither gender, why the fuck should I give a shit? Healthcare, please. I gotta charge my battery. Sorry, the cord was all tangled. The red wave, yeah. More like the red trickle. It was so funny seeing Republicans melt the fuck down on midterms because they were so fucking smug leading up to midterms. They're like, "Yep, we're gonna take the House, we're gonna take the Senate, we're gonna blow the Democrats out of the fucking water come midterms," and then that didn't happen. Oh God, nothing brings me joy like seeing the fucking smug look on a Republican's face just completely be wiped out. Same thing with 2020. I was worried about a red wave, but I'm relieved it never happened, and I hope Republicans get their ass handed to them in 2024. I hope so too. A lot of people are really putting their stock in DeSantis, and a DeSantis presidency really fucking scares me. I mean, I think Trump is up in polls now, especially after that whole thing in East Palestine he did, where he went to a fucking Burger King or whatever. But you know, it's always very conflicting. I see either polls say DeSantis is ahead or Trump is ahead. It's going to be a very interesting election cycle from the Republicans. You know, if DeSantis does decide to run, which he almost certainly will. But if he flounders on stage and Trump is completely kicking his ass in debates, then yeah, it might go to Trump. I don't know if Trump would win a general election, but who knows? I feel like if I feel like Trump is more likely to lose in a general election than DeSantis is, because I feel like most of this country is so over Trump. We've seen how disastrous a Trump presidency can be in this country. Watch a video called "Clash of the Bike Thieves and Chili Whack." Maybe I will after this stream is over. Which, by the way, in less than 10 minutes, I'm ending the stream. How has it already been almost 2 hours? What the fuck? Time flies when you're having fun. My brother said that he was going to pay me back for his trip to Chile by selling cocaine. What, did you pay off his trip to Chile or some shit? And take a shower later. See you, Guitar Rocker. You're not going to miss much because this stream is almost over. And have fun when you're doing your podcast with Nicole and Tam and whoever else is going to be in that podcast tonight. I might tune in. I tuned in a little to your YouTube poop reaction live stream last night. It was fun. Only stayed for like a half hour though. Wow, the birds are really chirping. I don't know if the mic can pick that up, but it's nice. Although it's not really that nice when I'm trying to go to sleep and there's a whole bunch of fucking birds chirping. But I usually drown that out with the sound of a fan spinning for 10 hours. The video I mentioned is about a man stealing somebody's bike from their front yard. Well, that's shitty. It's been a hot minute since I rode a bike. I think the last time I rode a bike was in 2020. This may be lame to admit, but I'm more of a scooter person personally. Always preferred scooters. People like to say, oh, people look so lame when they're riding scooters, but fuck them. Fuck them. Yeah, I'm sure getting a bike stolen is really shitty, especially if it was an expensive bike. But my bike is somewhere in the garage. Same with my scooter. Well, last year I rode my scooter in the summer into the park. It's a nice looking scooter too. It's blue. My father built me a BMX bike when I was 12, and when I was 14, I had left it in my yard overnight and it got taken. Oh, that sucks. That fucking sucks. It was my dad who taught me how to ride a bike. He was so sick of me riding a scooter when I was a kid, for whatever goddamn reason. And he's not the most patient person ever, so whenever I'd fall off the bike and cry or mess up something, he'd start flying off the fucking handle. Same with whenever we'd play baseball together. I never cared about playing sports aside from badminton in high school. But besides that, I'm not a sports guy, and I didn't like playing baseball with my dad because he would always get so fucking frustrated whenever I'd miss the ball because I would always be the batter and he'd be the pitcher. And yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience. But I did learn eventually how to ride a bike. I never really got the hang of baseball though, but bike riding I did get the hang of. But even after learning how to ride a bike, I still like riding scooters more. I told him that in recent years, around the time I first contacted him again after my grandma died. He asked me, "Oh, do you ride your bike still?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do ride my bike sometimes, but I prefer scooters." And he was so disappointed to hear that. I don't know why. At least I'm going out and doing something, right? My dad also taught me to ride my bike. My dad has a lot of patience, though, and would always keep trying to help me. Well, that's good. That's how one should be when they're teaching someone to do something, not fly off the fucking handle whenever they make a simple mistake. Like I've made amends with my father in recent years, but still, a lot of the stuff he said to me when I was a kid was shitty, and how he treated me sometimes was shitty. He was never physically abusive or anything. None of that ever happened. Some of that happened with my mother, but not to me. But still. But anyway, 2 hours and 5 minutes. That's when I usually end these streams. This was a fun stream. Talked about a lot of shit today, like drug usage, Powerpuff Girls, gaming, trans issues, all over the place today. But that's usually how my channel is. The video topics I discuss are usually all over the fucking place, and that's how I like running my channel. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in, including those who were here before and not here now. I appreciate everyone who tunes into these live streams and chats it up with me for 2 hours. Thank you so much for being here. Anyway, take care. Next stream will be sometime in April. When in April exactly? I don't fucking know, but it will definitely, almost definitely, be in April. Anyway, see ya.